welcome to TFN Today. I'm your host, Zackline Colley, and joining me at the second half of the program to discuss our main news is the TFN Network reporter Alieu Jallow. Let's begin with today's headlines. Barrow promises to create bank for Gambian women. Tourism Ministry explains undisbursed $68 million grant meant to support businesses. The Gambia has now 554 legal practitioners as 27 new lawyers enrolled. Senegalese presidential election. Sonko's candidacy returns to court tomorrow on Tuesday, December 12. ECOWAS sets up committee to negotiate with Niger junta on return to civilian rule. Sustainable fashion on show at Dakar Fashion Week. Let's now take a closer look at the stories. On our main news, President Barrow expressed dedication to women's empowerment in the Gambia, announcing plans for a new bank exclusively for women to ease their access to finance. He emphasized the government's support for women, acknowledging their vulnerability and difficulties in meeting traditional bank conditions. Barrow expressed the need to increase budgetary allocation for women and highlighted the plan to open a dedicated bank. The Gambia's Tourism Ministry, led by Honorable Ahmad N. Keba, clarified to the National Assembly that the $68 million grant from the World Bank aimed at supporting small and medium-sized enterprises in the tourism sector has not been disbursed yet. The grant, signed in 2022, is intended to boost diversification and climate resilience in the country's tourism industry and protect its Atlantic coastline. Minister Barr explained that the disbursement is scheduled for the third year of the project starting in July 2024. A management company will be hired to provide coaching and capacity building for 200 SMEs before the matching grant is distributed to those with growth and potential. The procurement process for the management firm is nearing completion, with the contract expected to be signed in the coming weeks of December next year. Chief Justice Hassan B. Jallow enrolled 27 new legal practitioners, marking the second batch this year and bringing Gambia's total to 554. He advised them to work hard, uphold the legal profession's code of conduct, and prioritize truth and justice over client interests. The Solicitor General Hussein Tomasi emphasized ethics and decorum, warning against public discourse on cases. Bar Association President Salim Tal urged them to uphold professional ethics, respect the bench, and be cautious about social media use in the legal profession. Senegalese opposition figure Ousmane Sonko faces a crucial court hearing on December 12 to determine if he can be reinstated on the electoral rolls for the 2024 presidential elections. The Supreme Court overturned an earlier ruling that had allowed his candidacy, prompting a retrial at the Dakar court. Sonko had been removed from the electoral roll due to a conviction in a vice scandal. He claims these legal challenges are politically motivated to bar him from the presidential race, while authorities deny interference in the justice system. Sonko's disbarment, if confirmed, will make him ineligible for the 2024 elections, sparking a legal battle with ongoing tensions between him and the state. On international news, West African leaders convened in Abuja to address the deepening political crisis in the region, particularly focusing on Niger. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, established a committee to negotiate with Niger's ruling CNSP regarding a swift transition to civilian rule and the lifting of sanctions imposed after the July 26 coup. The committee, comprising heads of state from Togo, Sierra Leone, and Benin, aims to establish a transition roadmap and monitoring mechanisms for the restoration of constitutional order. Also on international news, sustainable fashion took the spotlight at the 24th Dakar Fashion Week with a focus on promoting designers and creating recycled and sustainable fashion. Adama Pari, the founder of the event, expressed pride in featuring a collective of sustainable designers in the main fashion show. The event showcased diverse talents from countries like Angola, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, and Congo. Adama emphasized the platform's roles in celebrating African creativity and called on major designers to support emerging talents. The event also highlighted the economic and cultural impact of fashion industry in Africa, urging young people to embrace entrepreneurship and preserve artisanal traditions. Those were the stories that we had. We'll be back after the short break to welcome our guests in the studio. Do stay. Welcome back. We now have our guest in the studio, Alieu Jallow. But first, let's recap our main news, which we'll be discussing with Alieu Jallow. President Barrow expressed dedication to women's empowerment in the Gambia, announcing plans for a new bank exclusively for women to ease their access to finance. He emphasized the government's support for women, acknowledging their vulnerability and difficulties in meeting traditional bank conditions. Barrow expressed the need to increase budgetary allocations for women and highlighted the plan to open a dedicated bank. Put a finger around this development, Alieu, and tell me, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, thank you so much, Zackline. I think this is a great move for the presidency, cognizant of the fact that women constitute almost 50.2% of the Gambian population. And if you look at the voter list, they constitute 52%. And most of the time, they are also key partners in terms of development, looking at which, if you empower them, it trickles down to the community at large, and there is that growth. But women in the Gambia most of the time are financially challenged, and any sector that you go to, they are underrepresented, and also their empowerment is still lacking. And I think the president coming up with this initiative would definitely go a long way in trying to empower women and also uplift their status, and also bring up the development agenda that they've been propaganding for all the time.
You made mention that women empowerment is lacking. What are the things that you think needs to be both in order for women empowerment to grow?
Well, if you look at our agricultural sector, they are the main people actually involved in our agricultural department, and most of the time they are being challenged in terms of accessing finance. Women are seen everywhere, either in businesses. If you go to the market, when you leave your house 5 a.m., 4 a.m., the first person you meet or the people you meet are mostly women. Going down to the rural areas, a lot of them are involved in agricultural production just to make sure that they sustain their family and also take care of their social needs. But most of the time, they are being challenged in terms of finances. So coming up with a bank dedicated basically for women would be a significant milestone in of this government. But most of the time, we all know governments they're very good at propaganda. But I think it's a great move, though. It will only happen when it happens. It will definitely go a long way in mitigating some of the challenges that these women face most of the time. Going back to the agricultural sector, they always complain access to finance in terms of, and also market, because market and finance, it's linked. Most of these women don't have a place to go and get loan for them to be able to embark on their agricultural production. Looking at the sub-Saharan Africa, you have a lot of, women have almost 37% of women have bank account. But trickling down, going down some of the challenges in terms of getting this bank to be running is to create that awareness, in women, to be able to understand what it means to have a women bank. But again, there might be some questions around this women bank. One which may be, what are some of the terms? Because if you look at these commercial banks, the interest rate, and access to loan, it's challenging accessing loan or finances from most of these commercial banks. You need a lot of documentations, and most of these women don't have the time to actually go and get those things. But coming up with this bank would definitely ease the challenges, and then help to propel development in general, especially in terms of women.
Yeah, he did mention that women are vulnerable and they find it difficult in, accessing traditional bank conditions. Concerning the illiteracy rate among women in the Gambia, do you think that's a major challenge why they are not able to get loans to finance, whatever business that they are up to?
Well, it's one challenge, but like I said earlier, to address that, you need that awareness in them before you establish this bank. I think the government.
Do you think They can create awareness among
well,
these women.
Well, you could have school clubs. You could have a nationwide caravan. You know, we could also involve CSOs, but also financial institutions to be going around. You know, meet them in their community, talk to them, and empower them. Tell them the importance of getting a financial, you know, a bank account. Because if you look at it, most of the time, going to the bank, getting loans, getting money, the queue, you know, the process involved, most of the women don't have that time. And also, if you look at it, it's within the urban area, it's easy. But go down, trickle down to the rural area. You don't have, most of these banks don't have a branch there. And even if they have a branch, it is situated in a very strategic place, in a bigger settlement where they could have. So you see somebody coming down from 10, 15 kilometers off the road, going down to the bank is something else. So rather they will go for an optional bank, which is actually some of these credit unions, or will contribute money and give it to somebody to save it for them. So creating that awareness, and also accessibility would be one reason that would actually help to mitigate some of these issues.
I know you're not an economist, but permit me to ask you this question though. What do you think this will mean for our economy if this women bank is you know, established? Most particularly, what do you think it will mean for the women of the Gambia?
Well, like I said, going back to agricultural sector, women are the principal producers in terms of vegetables, in terms of other needs. So creating this bank and accessing finance means they would be able to cultivate a larger amount of land. They were able to produce a lot and able to sell. That way now we could also not only import but also export some of our goods. Because if you look at most of our vegetables here, they basically come from the neighboring countries. Therefore, instead of we having our money retained here, we are now you know, taking the money out. But like I said, having this bank would definitely add something to our economy. Will boost our economy, because it's going to be a circular finance sort of, like I'm not an economic expert, so. But it will boost our economy. Cognizant of the fact that women now will make more money and be able to save more money and invest more, and that will also help to not only boost our economy but also trying to curb the high unemployment rate within the country, and also empower women. I'm
very sure you're very familiar with National Assembly sittings. Barrow did mention that he will increase budgetary allocation for women. But is this some of the things that are usually discussed about women when it comes to the National Assembly? Well, like I said, the representation also is one aspect of it. If you go down to the National Assembly, we have few women representatives, and we have it's a male dominated area. So increasing that allocation on women will definitely go a long way in trying to, you know, boost the women. But again, I don't see it anywhere in the 2024 budget, which is not yet, that allocation probably is not featured in this 2024 budget, maybe in the subsequent budgets to come. But like I said, it is going to be a welcome news for the women. Going down to the IEC voter roll, they constitute, in most of these elections, women are the people who come out all the time to vote, because they are very much pertinent, they are very much consistent in what they do. So if you empower them, be rest assured that that investment that you are putting on women would not just go into the drains, but will definitely go a long way to, you know, in trying to making sure that our socio-economic challenges that we face all the time would be reduced, and also will alleviate the poverty that we keep crying of. Because if you look at the Gambia, women are very vulnerable, and then even in terms of poverty, they're seen at the bottom line of it. Because in a patriarchal society, women are most of the time they're seen as only good at the kitchen or only good in the house. But the status quo needs to change. But to do that, you need to empower them. Now, that financial investment is one way of trying to empower them and change the status quo. Thank you very much for your time, Alieu. Before I take your leave, is there anything you would like to say about this main development before we take your leave? Well, all we want to know is we just want this development to be done ASAP. And because as somebody, as a president, as a leader, you just go out
to make a promise and next minute you will not fulfill it. You know, it comes with a lot of challenges and it has a lot of processes, but we would appeal to the government to actually fast track this to be able to help our women who constitute 50% of our population.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jallow, for your time. Viewers, that's all we had for you on this edition of TFN Today. We will come your way tomorrow. Do stay tuned.